Hey everyone, I'm Summer. Welcome to my channel. Before you get tired of drawing all kinds of pink and tender characters, today I'll share some cool and highly saturated skin drawing methods. Let's first take a look at the drawing method of ordinary material balls. Here is the already drawn skin material ball. Let's take a look at the drawing steps. I have drawn the colors used for each layer. Let's simply draw the skin material ball. Fill in the base color of the skin first. After filling in the base color, proceed to create the dark areas of the first layer. On this layer of the inherent color, draw it with a normal layer. Spheres are still relatively easy to handle. Find the area of the dark part. Use the smearing tool to make a transition again. In this way, the colors can have a soft transition. Next, let's create a translucent effect. Select an overlay layer mode. Use a brush with a soft edge. Use colors with higher lightness and slightly higher saturation. Brush some of this color at the boundary between the bright and dark sides. In this way, the skin will appear more rosy. Next, draw the projection. There is no way to make a relatively obvious projection or closed shadow inside the sphere. We draw a projection at the bottom. Let's go back to the hard edge brush. Select the color of the projection on our side. The outer contour has been slightly trimmed. Then do the reflection of the sphere. The reflective part needs to choose a color with a slightly lower saturation. Also make a soft transition of the colors. The part of projection. We can also be in the marginal area. Add a small amount of reflective color to weaken the intensity of the projection. In this case, the area close to the center of the object will have a dark color. Finally, add highlights to this skin. For the highlight colors, it is still advisable to choose those with relatively high brightness and lower saturation. This is the conventional way of skin drawing. It is very important to overlay layers to enhance the skin's transparency. If there is no light transmitting layer, the skin will appear rather dull. It lacks the color of blood and appears pale. Following the same train of thought, draw colored skin again. The inherent color selection of colored skin has a higher saturation than that of normal skin color. The colored skin, I understand, is more like the feeling of a gummy candy. There are some rough and small textures on the surface. It's not particularly smooth, but it has a certain light transmitting effect. It's just that kind of feeling that is slightly translucent. We can do it through the observation of candies. Draw the skin of the corresponding color. Analysis of the colors of gummy candies reveals that their reflective saturation is relatively low. At the same time, there is a relatively obvious light sensation. After analysis, I listed the colors of some areas. You can refer to it. When painting red skin, it is also necessary to lay out the base color first. Use the same steps as when drawing normal skin color. Draw the dark areas with a normal layer. Choose colors with a lower lightness than the inherent color and a higher saturation for painting. Still use an overlay layer. Choose a color with high lightness and moderate saturation to make it translucent. This color saturation can also be slightly lower because the overlay layer can increase the saturation. Choose a brush with a soft edge. Gently draw along the junction of light and dark on the overlay layer. This way, the skin color will appear more transparent. Then draw the projection next. Draw the projection range with the selection area below the sphere. Increase the reflection in the dark part of the sphere. The saturation of the reflective color must be low. Under normal circumstances, I would be in the reflective part. Choose a color that is slightly cooler for red. You can choose grayish-green with a greenish tint, or colors with a yellowish tint. The color card selected is a color with a yellowish tint. Finally, add a highlight. For the highlight, I chose a slightly cooler color. In this way, a material ball with red skin has been drawn. We can take a look at the black and white relationship of this material ball. A black and white layer can be used to check the black and white relationship of the picture. It can be seen from this black and white picture. Materials, like the colorful ones, the relationship of its lightness contrast is still relatively weak. This is what we need to pay attention to when drawing. The skin of other colors is also drawn in the same way. We can imagine it as a colored candy of various colors. You can find such a gummy candy and observe the changes in their colors. After analysis, a color card is made. I also made 2 material balls of different colors. The drawing steps for other color skins are the same as those for the red one just now. The inherent color is a relatively bright green color, the first layer of darkness. It's still better to choose a green color with a relatively low lightness. First, make the volume of the entire ball. Then, light transmission is carried out at the junction of light and dark. I chose a color that is slightly yellowish with moderate saturation. Select the overlay layer mode as well. Then draw the projection. Add a little reflective color to the edge of the projection. The reflective part is selected as a low saturation yellow color because the base color is green. So the highlight part, the color tendency also leans slightly towards green. The pink skin is drawn in the same way as well. You can take a look at the color card on the right. In this way, we understand the logic of drawing skins of different colors. Let's use a character to draw a colored skin. Let's draw a handsome guy with red skin. Let's draw a handsome guy with red skin. The steps are the same as drawing a material ball. First, apply the inherent color to the skin. You can use the selection area to quickly select the fill range. This can save time. This is an illustration. I will upload other videos about the process of the picture composition later. This video merely shares the process of drawing colored skin. This picture is designed because the character is intended to be in a backlit environment. So, the inherent color I chose has a relatively low lightness. I didn't do the dark parts first. Instead, I used the bright colors to locate the illuminated parts of the character and make the bright surfaces, because the area of the dark part is really too large. This is slightly different from the steps we take when drawing material balls, but the logic is the same. If your character is in an area with strong light exposure, you can use high brightness inherent colors and then find the dark areas for volume. If your character is in the shaded area, you can use the low brightness inherent color and then find the bright area for volume. The results of the two methods are the same. Quickly draw the range of the illuminated area, and then use the brush, eraser, and smudging tool to find the lightness changes of the muscles and shapes. Then, I used orange with high brightness and medium saturation for light transmission. The color is mainly drawn on the edge of the illuminated surface. There was no change in the dark area. I then used a positive overlay layer to draw the shape changes in the dark area. The main thing is to draw the structure of the muscles. The overlay layer of the main film is a darkening property. When choosing the color, I selected a bright gray with high brightness and low saturation. Pay attention to the lightness and saturation of the dark areas. Skin with high saturation is prone to charring the dark areas. Don't make the brightness of the dark areas too low, and the saturation should not be too high either. Use a normal layer to select a color with a lower lightness than the dark areas to draw the closed shadow parts, mainly in the gaps of the shape. The color is a bit too dark. I adjusted the lightness of the color of this layer using hue saturation. Next, draw the reflection of the skin. When drawing the reflection, choose a color with low saturation. What I chose was yellowish green with low saturation and low brightness. Because the bright areas in the background have a color tendency of yellowish green, I want to make the colors in the picture more unified. I also chose the same hue for the character's skin, because the saturation of the skin is relatively high. After adding a low saturation color, this color creates a strong contrast with the skin. On the contrary, it makes people feel that the reflection is green, which is also a magical visual illusion phenomenon. The face is also reflective. Since the facial structure is relatively small, there will be more variations. the left side of the face can all be painted in reflective colors. Don't forget the surface, at the bottom of the eye sockets, and the nose. Drawing reflections can also be understood as adding a lamp with a lower brightness at an upward oblique angle from below the character's body to illuminate the character's body. This way, it can be better understood. Use a normal layer for the rear part of the body and push them further behind the body with a color of lower saturation. This can create a stronger sense of space. The lines in the sketch interfered with the picture. I removed them with a layer mask, since I was always using the small image mode when drawing. There were still many areas where the details and transitions were insufficient. So, I used a normal layer and a granular brush to do some color blending and detail blending. The eye part was not drawn too brightly because the character was in a backlit environment and the eyes were not exposed to light so strongly. I just absorbed some colors from the picture to distinguish the iris from the whites of the eyes. An orange contour light was added to the character's waist, so that the waist and the clothes could be distinguished. The left side of the waist is also slightly further back. To avoid them being too eye-catching, I used a low saturation and low brightness gray to push this part a little further back. Finally, a low saturation purple-gray color was chosen to add a bit of highlight in the form of dots on the deltoid and trapezius muscles. In this way, the skin is completed. Then I drew the belt on the body. To make a brief summary, keep the gray surface clean and transparent. Second, choose the way to depict by shifting saturation and hue. The saturation of the reflective color should be low. Have you learned it? Hurry up and draw the coolest skin for your character. That's all for today's sharing. I hope everyone can feel the joy of painting during the process. I will bring you more wonderful content. Stay tuned.